Hey, everybody. Welcome to tonight's late night happy hour. Brian Kamenetzky and Andy Kamenetzky joined. There he is.
There he is.
Sideways, and now he's the right ways. He's Kelvin Washington. How you doing?
There we go. Am I good?
There you go.
Yeah.
Very good. Looking good.
All right. I feel, let me turn you guys up a little bit.
All right.
Not as if I haven't had you two in my ears for too many years. Anyway.
It's been a long time, man.
Yeah.
It's been a long
time.
Kelvin Washington, anchor for Spectrum News 1. You also know him from some now pre- and post-game with the Dodgers on Sportsnet LA. He was with us on 710 for years. Detroit original. How are you, man?
I'm good, man. Yeah, you just mentioned, man, it's been a fun couple of years over the last couple of years, you know, from my time at ESPN. Really, to be honest, the last 5 years have been really, really fun for me professionally. In LA, man. You guys know, not being from here originally, that it's a grind, right? It's a grind. It's a constant grind, but there are moments where there are extreme highs and peaks and then some difficult moments. So we're just all riding the wave. I'm going to go full because I want to get my Spike Lee Ava DuVernay on. So I'm going to hold on here. I'm going to make sure this camera looks good. Okay.
I thought you were going for that Sybil Shepherd moonlighting kind of look.
No. Then wouldn't that be like Bruce Willis? In that instance?
Yes.
All right.
Nothing wrong with that.
All right, let me get some better lighting here.
I know. For a second,
I wander around until you feel good about the way you
I
look.
actually thought for a second
Don't let the show get in the way.
that this was like a low-key flex and you were actually just taking us around the house.
No,
Because it looked like you were angling enough. You were like, well, let's show off this room, then this room. And you know what? Maybe this room has better lighting.
No. As you all know, being fathers, if I were to do that, that would be embarrassing because you would see puzzle. So there's no floor here. It's just all puzzles. It's just literally we walk on puzzles all day. That is what that's what we deal with every day. But, you know, it's the life of a father. I wouldn't want it any other way.
So yeah, remind me. I know you got yours are at least a couple years are relatively close to mine. Give me the ages again.
Yeah, I've got a soon-to-be 2 and a soon-to-be 4-year-old,
right,
and a soon-to-be full chin of gray like Andy.
Yeah, yeah, man, it ages you.
It's what
really. I mean, in a good way, but just in a tangible way. Like you grow up fast doing this stuff. Like assuming you are committed at all, like there's no room to try to maintain, the man cave mentality.
No, I've given that up. You know, I'm used to going to bed and waking up with the Cheerios stuck in my neck. Captain Crunch in my rib cage, and as we all know, nothing worse than stepping on a Lego.
Oh my God.
We got lucky actually. My daughter. Well, I shouldn't say we got lucky because we made the rules. We didn't allow Legos. I was about to say, my daughter didn't become interested in Legos, but that also wasn't an option for her to play with. So I can't really say that fortune worked for us. We did not allow it because specifically we said we don't want all those all over the place. We made up for it though with Shopkins. Did your daughter do the Shopkins or any of those blind item grab bag?
What is a Shopkin? What is a Shopkin?
It's like these little toy, either grocery carts or different things that you can buy in the grocery store that they play with. You would get fake cartons of milk or fake cartons of eggs.
Those. We have those.
But they're tiny.
Yeah, and ours are a little bigger. And by the way, I don't think the people signed up to hear this. But this is how you know you're a parent.
No, we'll get there. We'll get there. Whatever it is.
When you just start having these conversations, and you're like, let me tell you what little Timmy's been doing.
The Shopkin thing, though, that's the shit that you see it probably as you're leaving the store. I would think sometimes you got the Shopkin set up there, and it's almost like Mr. Shopkin is standing 3 aisles over, and you see him, and the kid's like, I need 2 of these, and you just look over at Mr. Shopkin, you motherfucker.
Yeah,
God damn it,
Shopkin. Absolutely, and it's you gotta have you gotta be smooth, right? So you walk into Target, and you're like, we're just here for the X, Y, and Z. You got to do Jedi mind tricks. You got to be like, oh my gosh, is that SpongeBob over there? No, look over there, so you can avoid the toy aisle or you got to run over there. It's a whole listen. Being a parent, you also become like a prophet. You know, you two are of the you two are of the tribe. So you see things in advance, like, okay,
you're Jewish too.
She doesn't even know she's about to roll off this couch. There's no pillow there, so you like put a pillow there 2 seconds before she goes looking at her phone and just rolls off the couch. So you become a prophet, you become a Jedi, all that.
I hate when that happens and nobody is there to see it. Like nobody gives me credit.
I was going to say, because I've had the opposite. Years ago, I mean, this was, my daughter's 9, so by definition, this is a long time ago. I was watching her on the couch, and I really had been attentive. I looked up for 1 second to check my fantasy scores, and that was the one moment she toppled over, and my wife happened to walk into the den right at that moment. And I still hear about this to this day. I had been attentively watching her that entire day, except that 1 second. With
raise your hand if your child or one or all have rolled off the bed.
Oh, I mean, come on.
No, but B. Had I told, how old is your oldest?
10.
If I would have told you that 10 and a half years ago, you would think there's no way I'm going to be all in. I'm going to make sure I would do this. I would have that. And you would feel so tormented if you knew.
No, I was a little ahead of the game in that regard.
Okay.
Like, no, the kid's going to fall off the bed.
Okay.
That part.
The problem is we have a really high bed. Okay. I'm 5'10".
Whoa.
Our bed is up. Our bed stops right here. Like to get on the bed, I borderline need a 2-step. Okay, like a little 2-stepper.
What I mean, if it's not too personal, what's the deal? Like, what's that about?
So we really enjoy our bed, and the way
how personal are we getting here?
It's high. And then you add it's not like your normal box spring. And then you add the mattress. By the time you do that, I mean, again, it looks like the Olympics, like a high jump. To get in the bed, I'm like.
I mean, if I remember, because I've met your wife a couple times, she's on the tall side, correct?
Yeah, about 5'7", 5'8", yeah.
Okay. I mean, so the bed is essentially like a climb for her?
I mean,
there's a ladder?
Okay, first of all, I'm gonna need the Cam brothers to stay out of my bedroom. Okay, I invited you in.
You brought it up.
I invited you in. Now I'm telling you to get out. Okay, get out.
I don't blame you, frankly. It's what I would do as well. We got a question right away from Jay Watson 0984 in the chat.
What up, Jay Watson?
I was going to say you probably recognize him. He's been very active among anybody who ever was a part of 710. Great listener.
For sure.
What's it like anchoring the Dodgers? Because that's a relatively new thing for you right now. And the Dodgers basically 20 games into this shortened season, as I thought would be the case.
Left.
I was going to say about 20 games into the season, as I suspected would be the case. Basically, hammerlock the division.
Yeah,
like it's been a wrap for a while.
Yeah, they've been doing that for what? This will be the 7th year. 8th year. You know what? I'll without getting like super deep. You know what? Life will throw you. You know, you kind of go into a situation and you're thinking, okay, I would like X, or you're hired for X, and then you end up getting Y and Z, and then on the flip side, I end up flipping right back around to A, B, and C. That's how much. My role has expanded at Spectrum, man. So I'm grateful. So to answer Jay Watson's question, man, I came in with Spectrum. I'll just kind of briefly go through that for those who don't know. So Spectrum has the Lakers and it has the Dodgers. And then in November of 2018, we launched a new news station. So I went into this opportunity thinking, all right, it's new. Who knows how great it's going to be, but it's a great opportunity. You guys know, especially Andy, you and I have had plenty of conversations off air of like complex, deep dive. And I like more than just sports. I like to have the full breadth of conversation. And so I was like really excited about this opportunity. I was hired to do weekend anchoring and then do, some fill-in mornings or afternoons here or there, whatever. After a couple months.
I recognize that kind of job.
Yeah. You know how that goes.
I know how that goes.
Then I got in a couple months later. They said, let's add an afternoon show. And they said, who should we let do it? Kelvin. So I started. Now I have Your Afternoons. We call it, hosted by me. And then we have a show, LA Times Today, which, a lot of people, LZ Granderson, Arash Markazi, Bill Shankin, all these LA Times great sports writers come on, along with the other writers of different sections of the paper. And I, along with Lisa McCready, she's the main host, I get to do the sports stuff. So that was another addition to the role. Then I joined the evening show. So basically from like noon to 8 o'clock, your boy is on there at some point. So shout out to AJ, who runs the sports over there. When I first got over there.
Indeed, shout out to AJ.
Yeah, AJ, make you do 50 push-ups, AJ. And he was like, hey, God, if he watches this, he's going to be like, what the heck? He's like, hey, this was his way of saying hello to me. He's like, hey, I know you know sports. Used to listen to you. So you know sports. We're sports. Figured some way we'll make it happen. We'll marry at some point. I was like, okay. And then months later, he was like, hey, we'd love for you to maybe get a shot at doing some Dodger stuff. And so I did it. Nice. It was set to be 20 games this year. COVID happens. Ended up being 4 or 5. But it was awesome, man. It was a different role. I had to get my feet under me. And as you guys know, and I'll end it here, I don't care what role I put you two in. The first day, first hour, first whatever, you're going to be like, okay, you're kind of getting your feet. You're at your absolute best when you are yourself. And once I kind of got to that, like, yo, just be Dub, you know what I mean? And we're good. Me, Ned Colletti, Nomar Garcia Parr, Jerry Harrison Jr., we're having fun. And that's when I'm at my best. So I had to kind of
remind myself. That's why I'm not wearing pants right now.
Well, first, you said you're not?
Yeah, so I can be at my best.
Okay. Well, since we're doing that.
Ooh.
Well, I mean, as long as we're doing it.
Here's the
Kelvin
real
Washington
question,
flashing some knee.
BK, here's the real question. Do I have on shorts or am I just full on underwear?
No, see, this is where
am I even underwear?
You keep the mystery alive.
Yes. Listen, I don't know who your followers are. There might be some ladies in the house, so
But baseball this year. Because Andy and I had the debate. Like we did this a bunch of times. Like you had 106. We can all agree 162 games, too many games.
For sure.
And but I've also decided that 60, at least during a pandemic, and like the NBA playoffs, 60 might be a little too few. Like there's a sweet spot somewhere in the middle. Like because I don't know what happened
90.
between maybe 100, but I don't know what happened between
100.
Like, oh my God, Korean baseball is on. I'm going to sit down and watch that. And I've watched like 7 seconds of the Dodgers this year. I basically tune in if there's no basketball game and they get to extra innings because I love this guy starts on second base stuff. Like this is great. I like it.
Yeah, people are definitely loving that. I to your point, BK, it's the smorgasbord of sports that's happening that you as a fan, we love. You're like, oh, I love it. Think starting tomorrow we'll have football. So it sounded good, but it's almost too good to be true where you can't keep up with your team like you quite thought you. Oh shoot, I can't keep with the Dodgers. Now the Rams are going to be playing or the Chargers, or whoever your team is. It's like,
especially in the COVID age where your kids, if you have kids, and we started this talking about this, they never leave. Like your children never go anywhere. And
Andy, they always used to say like, they're always your children. They're like, but this, you mean like literally they never leave. Like they're always there now.
Here's the funny thing about that. The reason why I keep looking like a paranoid person, like someone's over my shoulder, is at any moment I'm expecting a little Oompa Loompa to jump in and scream daddy. So I had, and you guys know, so I got each of them their own little bowl of popcorn. They got mommy, they've got a tablet and a phone. I'm like, I got an hour for the Cam Bros. So trust me, I get it.
Thank you. No, but I mean, there is that unpredictability. Like I have not slept in about 9 years. I mean, because even as they get older, my daughter still has some sleep issues, but they still are at an age where they wake up in the middle of the night. Like something will always happen.
Right.
Plus, I've got a cat that wakes us up in the middle of the night because she's 15 and crotchety and wants to get fed at weird hours. The dog that insists on sleeping either in the bed with me and my wife or the bed with my daughter or the mix and match going on. There are so many different factors preventing me from ever sleeping. Like the sleep aids that I use, like my doctor is unfortunately very responsible in the way that he prescribes me Ambien. And
Right.
like, I appreciate that he's looking out for me, but I really feel like if he ever spent like a week in my house, he'd be like, dude, just refills
Just
whenever.
take it.
Like,
Take it. How
you know
much do
what?
you need?
If you get addicted to this, I get it.
I mean, listen,
You're
Andy,
eating them like Tic Tacs at that point.
Oh, and none of them are strong enough. Like there is nothing that exists that is strong enough for me to sleep a consistent like 3 nights in a row in this home.
The idea that you said it's been 9 years, so the idea that you even expect to at this point. I mean, last night my daughter, my oldest, came in at minimum 2 times, and she's like trying to really convince herself that she's up when she's not, and she's like, "Hey, I'm up," and I'm like, "No, you're not." I put her back down, check if everything's good. Do you need a diaper or anything? Put the blanket on, and she's like, "No, because I was gonna," and then she came back in like an hour and a half later. So you're absolutely listen. I used to think I was a handsome dude, okay, but now you see my bags and you see my eyes and you see I'm puffy. So yeah. Listen, you guys do TV. Thank God for TV makeup.
Oh yeah. Oh no,
I remember that did you ever, Andy, did you ever go through that phase, like, where makeup, like, I guess we both did theater in high school, so we're used to it, but like, I never understood the people like, I don't want to put on makeup. And it's like, you're going on TV, man. And like, it is not forgiving. Whatever you can do.
Right.
For this, like, do it.
Well,
like, I'm not,
let me add to that, B. So I was the guy, not fully you were just referring to, but I would, oh man, it's your boy, I don't need all that, you know what I'm saying? I mean, just a little bit, little dab here, little dab there, little dab. And then I got into TV more regularly. It's all right, cool. I'll deal with it. Now I could work at a Mac store. I mean, because of the pandemic, Andy, our makeup artists, unfortunately, they can't work with us right now. And so shout out to all the makeup ladies over at Spectrum.
They're great. They're awesome.
They've taught us. I mean, dude, I am full on. Like right now, Andy, you could use a little concealer right here.
I could.
And you need a little more foundation up here, B, because your bald head, I can see the shine. So, I mean, I have become a makeup artist now.
The Zoom virtual era is really unforgiving. Like all these, I mean, everyone now has to do all these different meetings, either on Zoom or some type of platform like that. And it's really hard to find the lighting, the angle, the makeup, the anything.
Like, this is my background. What is it? It's a white beige wall.
I mean, you end up washed out. Like, it's really, really unforgiving.
Well, I'll tell you what, though. Listen, none of us are single. But if you were single right now, at least you know what you're getting. You know what you're getting into.
That's true.
You really know who you're getting to. Like, all right, because the best part about you can say this is him or her at their worst. Okay, and I know it can only go up from here.
All right, let me ask you a question, because Andy actually pulled these up. This is as good a time as any to bring him into the show. You talk about now how this Kelvin Washington needs the help, which of these Kelvin Washingtons do you think could have gotten by during the pandemic without the use of makeup? Like, is it this one, top left?
That's good.
Top right. My favorite.
This is funny. Okay. I'm gonna go with top. Okay, well, my top right, wearing the blue and black checkered shirt.
That's smoldering. That's smoldering, Kelvin Washington.
That's full on black Chase. What is it? Channing Tatum situation going on right there. That is full on. Michael B. Jordan is sick today. We're okay. Call Kelvin. No, what's funny is that was no TV era. That was radio. And we did just like all of us did a radio shoot, and you could tell the difference, man. I used to have short hair there, but obviously you can see that one in the bottom left were around probably within about a year and a half of each other, give or take 2 years. So yeah, those era, and then the bottom left one, the black and white, was me moving to LA about a year in, and I'm like, hey, you never know, I could use this for maybe your boy want to act a little bit, and so I got those headshots. It was like I didn't really get headshots just in case I needed a headshot kind of thing. It was like a mixture of I ain't taking no headshot, but I got one in case somebody ever asked me.
The sweater, I think the sweater is maybe the most versatile of all of them.
No, Andy, here's what's crazy about that picture. That picture is we're at my second child. Yes. We're taking pictures, my wife, for our basically going to be revealing that we're pregnant with the second child. We're at this cool little studio.
Oh, congratulations for doing that without lighting the state on fire.
Seriously.
Golly, that baby will forever be reminded of its existence.
Well, it's going to be really
when they go visit his parents in prison.
Yeah, well, that and they will always say, "Listen, your reveal was lit. Literally, it was lit." So
that kid's going to grow up. By the way, but I mean, we'll get back into what you were saying. But that kid's going to grow up with everybody hating his parents or her parents, and by extension, blaming them for this incident they literally were not alive for.
Can I tell you something? I don't agree.
Lumped into it.
I don't agree. 19, anything with a 19 or even maybe 2005 and below, you'd be right. The baby is going to be fortunate that by then, President Trump, Kanye West, Kim Kardashian will do something outrageous that will make us forget all about that.
President QAnon Smith.
Yep, and I'm just, listen, the way we are set up right now, nothing lasts, nothing. I mean, and not to mention, shoot, on a serious note, dude, I saw one of the best tweets of 2020, and it's a sad kind of tongue-in-cheek, but it was relevant. It was perfect. Said, remember when Kobe Bryant died 10 years ago? Like, that's how much has gone on.
Yeah.
And what are we in? 9 months in, that you would have thought in February when he passed, was it late January when he passed, or was it February?
I
think it was January when he passed,
beginning
and
of
then
February
was the 224, game. We thought that was going to be the biggest, hardest thing of 2020. Remember, we were like, man, and all of us, you guys have connections, of course, with Lakers and Kobe, and me working at ESPN LA, and just being basketball fans and dads of girls, and just, and then a couple months later, coronavirus, and you're like, okay, I know not even trying to play a left or right or this or that, but what we were being told was it wasn't that big of a deal. So you're like, all right, we're still joking. Oh, what's your boy, Rudy Gobert? And then you realize, oh, shoot, this is serious. I personally, Kelvin, know a handful of people who have died from it. And then black people were like, we had enough. And white people were jumping in like, you know what? I'm with them. They have had enough. And it just turned, so it's just so much going on.
God, by the way you just said that, because it's both true in terms of what happened, but also echoes a frustration consciously or unconsciously, I'm sure, the idea of, okay, they had enough. Like the idea of, all right, we've decided they've had enough. You know what? We are putting our foot down.
Yeah, we're there. I read it. There's a great, I didn't mean to cut you off. It was one of the best ways of putting it that I've seen. Because Andy and I have long, and I don't know how many people are going to debate this, but white people ruin everything. we have a way of ruining all kinds of things. And I saw an editorial that white people have basically gentrified the Black Lives Matter movement. I was like, that is the best way of putting that. Like, I cannot begin to tell you how angry I get. Just me. Okay. Like when I see like these 50, all white people going up to scream at people sitting, having a coffee at a cafe.
Right.
And then, I like to think of myself as supportive and all these other, but what are you doing? Like, what are you doing screaming at people like that?
Let me throw this back at you on a serious one. What you just acknowledged, and I've had plenty of conversations with both of you guys about these types of stuff. Why is it that you're able to borderline dismissively, because it's so absolute for you, which I would completely agree with, for the most part, in the way that you present it, just like, hey, white people have ruined a lot of things. That sounds harsh, right? You say it on the surface. Nobody wants to be like, and I think people will take it personally, right? Like that includes me. But if you just literally look at textbook you can see where this has happened. But because you have acknowledged it, you said it, you've try to be open-minded, have conversations about things, you're able to be okay with it. Like, yo, we can get better, we can improve, we can.
And that's what I mean. I don't know. And I think a lot of it is circumstance. It's a part of human nature where if your place where you think of things as zero sum, where like if this community over here starts to thrive somehow, my community is not going to be able to. It's seeing the world as a zero sum place. And then I think it's just the sort of that human nature instinct of, if I can be above you in the power structure, in the perception struggle, whatever it might be, and that thing that even if you have more than me, even if you're a better person than me, but if I can just be objectively in the group that matters more,
right?
Somehow that has value. It's something I struggle with. Like, I'll tell you this. Like, John Thompson died. Was it last week? I believe it was. John Thompson, the Georgetown head coach. And I was thinking back on this, and growing up, there were like 3 or 4 coaches and managers, whatever, that I despised. I hated Lou Holtz, which I think has borne itself out in a lot of ways. I'm still cool with that. I detested Tommy Lasorda. And I know you work for the network and all that, but I have to admit, he's still not my favorite guy once I got to meet him a few times doing the work. But, LA legend, I get it. But I didn't like John Thompson either. And what I have come to realize, and in reading about him and reading more about him, and I hadn't thought about it in years, was part of the reason that I didn't like John Thompson was the politics of it. And I'm 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I'm not blaming myself necessarily, but you realize how your perception of people and things, because John Thompson was like an unapologetically black head coach who supported black players and growing up in suburban St. Louis, wasn't a popular guy. Right. And looking back on the why, I mean, it's if you want to call it racism, you want to call it prejudice, blinds, whatever it is. I don't think there was the maliciousness, the intent of maliciousness that I usually associate with racism, but it was clearly some prejudice there that was part of the biggest reason I didn't like John Thompson.
Right.
I think, so that's that kind of stuff goes on. And I've been very fortunate in my life to be able to move past a lot of those kinds of things that other people don't have. They don't see enough. They don't go. And I'm just saying, I don't know if that answers your question, but it was an anecdote that I thought about that felt relevant.
But it is relevant. And Andy, jump in on this too. But you just one of my favorite people in history is Robert Kennedy. And it's not because he's a Kennedy and all that. Part of it is that you come from this wealthy background, you're esteemed, this prestigious family, which, by the way, we are very hypocritical of who we allowed to have succeeded based off of things that were illegal. His father, prohibition, bootlegging, but we moved past that.
Criminal
Other
past.
people, So, but okay, now you're Robert Kennedy, right? And your brothers, your eldest brother was going to make some political moves. He ends up dying in war, and then obviously John F. Kennedy gets in there. My point is, originally when the civil rights movement was happening, he was like, why are the Freedom Riders, these young kids getting locked up? Why are they doing this? Cesar Chavez, why is he, I don't want to, and then one day he started to really look into these things and really dive into it. And I've always respected that at a certain point, he was like, he's kind of set aside his, upbringing, the privilege of being a Kennedy, all of those things, his political privilege, and was like, that actually is messed up how we're treating blacks, how we're treating the people in marginalized groups, and how we're treating the Latino population across the country, but specifically here in LA, as we know, what was happening with Cesar Chavez and the farmers. So I've always respected that at a certain point, as you just mentioned, Brian, he was like, dang, you know what? The more I think about it, and really put myself in those shoes, something isn't right and something needs to change. And you could argue that's what led to his ultimate demise and assassination. But I've always respected people, including myself, when we have these areas of life where you're just ignorant, right? As you mentioned, it's bigotry. Yeah. It can be, whether it's inherent bias, whatever, you don't know. But at a certain point, you just open-minded and open up to look and say, you know what? Dang, I never thought of that. Dang, I've never considered that. wow, that's their perspective. I may not even fully get it or understand it, but I can appreciate it and not, hate it. Now we're in this point, Andy, where we're so divisive. You're either left, right, this, that, him, her. It is just, and it's crazy.
It's becoming, I think, increasingly harder to be open-minded, period, because everything becomes so polarized and you feel like you have to take a side on something. And then especially now, we were not, I think, as human beings meant to be living in a world of social media where strangers can be connected to each other with the ability to communicate, often anonymously, or definitely with, at times open hostility, often with no ramifications or consequences whatsoever. I mean, sometimes, you end up paying the cost for what you say on social media. Sometimes it's deserved, sometimes it goes overboard. But either way, it's also just as easy to literally be able to just say whatever the hell you want to whoever the hell you want, with really no ramifications, no accountability, no responsibility. And I think the more you can do that, the easier it is to become less open-minded. And it's frustrating for me because, I mean, while, I would never prop myself up as, as a perfect, fully enlightened person on everything, I do think I've always been a fairly open-minded person, like in the most literal sense of just, I am open to blank. By and large, I mean, there's certain things that, I'll cut off right at the knees because I know
hot dogs.
Wrong or that's
never been open to that.
I do hate hot dogs. I have always hated hot dogs since I was a little kid. But in terms of most philosophies, most cultures, most backgrounds, most whatever, like I've always just usually found stuff interesting like that.
Right.
But like getting back to what what we were talking about originally, just with race and stuff like that, and the white people ruining everything, and in some ways it's just, I think, white people co-opting things, like when you talk about Black Lives Matter, for example. I think there's been this tipping point of a lot of very well-intentioned, sincere white people wanting to get involved with something that they see as injustice and systemic inequities, co-opting this, because the way the power structure in this country has always worked, white people have not had to ask permission for a whole lot. And you look at what's going on right now, like the idea of having to ask permission of, for lack of a better term, how to be an ally, to use a lot of the jargon, having to ask permission for, or ask advice, ask perspective. What do you as a person of color want from me as a white person, as opposed to just jumping in and grabbing it without finding out what's really needed.
Hold on, hang on, black people. I got this. Essentially, and I agree with it. I think they are a lot of well-meaning people, but it's just, it's infuriating to me. I can't project onto other people. Wouldn't try, but it's just like, this is our time to listen and like Andy says, kind of follow directions and think, and actually just stop and think. Like, first and foremost.
The challenge is, historically, for changes specifically in America to be made, you do need a portion of the people protesting, the portion of the people who are out trying to make a change. And we already know politically, so many of our politicians, our city leaders are white. You need white people. So I don't think that, and I think civil rights, human rights is it's a human thing. So I think everyone can be a part of it. But I do think there's an element of trendy. There's an element of a bumper sticker thing where, like, you can go to it. I got my BLM and I was there for a day. It was cool. Oh my gosh. It was like awesome. And I think there's an element of that where people get to just come in, look like they were cool, wear a t-shirt, say I was there, and kind of go back to life as is. Where if you look back in the 60s, and I saw a post that said voting rights. If you want to go back to the late 50s and the 60s, going for voting rights. John Lewis, you had people who were like, it was a real push. And you had these, you had rabbis jumping in, like, this we're going to push with you. And to me, again, those are the type. It's like, all right, if you're going to be in it, I'm going to need you to be in it for a while, because this is going to be more than just simply a weekend where we all had T-shirts and face paint,
right?
And it made it kind of cool, the thing to be at. So you can put your bio on Instagram says, I'm Katie from blah blah #BLM, and it's like, all right, Katie, I'm gonna need you to lock arms with me on this for a little bit longer. And by the way, Katie, it might get a little uncomfortable up in here, so but it's gonna be a bumpy ride.
I think you hit on something important with just the idea of being okay with discomfort, and discomfort doesn't necessarily mean that you are like you're being blamed for something. Like, for example, like with the concept of white privilege, which exists, it obviously exists, and I think every white person benefits from it to some degree, but it also doesn't mean that your entire life or your entire success has been the product of white privilege, or that if you
because it's not about you. I mean, that's the thing that's so hard to separate, is these things. They're not talking about you, like person, that I, on the other side of this conversation or whatever it might be. It's not you specifically. It's the thing. When they say systemic racism, they don't mean you person are trying to go out and
or the idea that
discriminate against people,
that like you're gaming the system, like consciously gaming the system. If you're white, there are plenty of white people across this country who struggle like anybody else,
for sure,
who have very few advantages to lean back on,
who in certain ways, whether it be financially, whether they have to overcome or have obstacles in front of them that people of color, that certain minorities don't necessarily have, depending on their upbringing. But that's not the point. And Kelvin, it's, I think of what you were saying is like that to me is the part that I think helps to live in LA. And we can use, actually a good pivot point to talk about what it's been like to cover some of these things. But it helps to live in LA. You just see stuff. You are exposed to things. Like my kids see things that then I don't have to explain, what a diverse community looks like. I don't have to explain that there are places where, no, it's really common to have, this race, that race, that.
They have a cousin who isn't Caucasian. Or isn't fully Caucasian.
I always make a joke whenever Andy's out with his daughter by himself, somebody puts out an Amber Alert because they look nothing alike.
Yeah, my daughter looks very much like her mother, who is of Mexican descent. I mean, she looks damn near exactly like her.
They're like photocopies. So what has this been like for you? I mean, obviously, we see here memories last. I'm gonna get your screen handle wrong, but people really loving what you do at Spectrum. You alluded to like everything that's going on, to the point that like murder hornets don't even penetrate the news for more than like 5 minutes. Murder hornets, Kelvin.
Murder hornets. Australia burning, millions of animals die, and it was just like, that was crazy.
I forgot about Australia burning.
About that. So what has this been like? Like, what has it been like to get out and cover the news and do this stuff in this moment? What's like,
dude? I truly believe I was like made for this. And what I mean by that is, we all have gifts and talents that I believe God gave us. And one of mine, I would think, is being able to have, to what Andy just said, very uncomfortable and conversations with anybody about anything. And we could have different opinions. And at least we can have a civilized conversation, dialogue about it. And I try to carry that same mindset and mentality when I'm on air, because I'm not left, I'm not right, I'm me. Because if we're getting deep, I think both of them have screwed over the people to the point where there's a separate thing, right? There is us and then the government. And it's supposed to be, hey, there's 1,000 of us in this area. We all can't be representatives. So we're going to vote. Okay, Andy, you go and you represent us, but you're literally just speaking for us. You represent us. Some reason we've got this disconnect where it's them, the politicians and government officials, us. And so point being, that's why I don't play partisan. I don't do any of that, because I want to get back to who cares about people, who's doing what's best for people genuinely.
Yeah.
I don't even have to agree with what you want to do if I believe you're really doing it for the proper intention. So you asked the question, what's it been like? It's been crazy. I didn't think that the musician that I enjoyed his music, I met him once, so I don't want to act like I know him. I met him once in his come-up years, 2010-ish in Flint, Michigan. I was doing radio. His name was Nipsey Hussle. And I saw this young guy, and he walks into the studio, and I was like, oh my gosh, is that Snoop Dogg? Because many people, maybe you know or don't know, he was like 6'4", 6'5". Tall dude, thin, long hair like Snoop, the whole West Coast vibe. And I'm like, yo, this is Snoop's. Oh, he's like, I get it all the time, man. So we talked, and I was like, wow, this young dude's really, on his grind. And fast forward, I didn't know I'd be living in LA. His career and his business mind, all these things would grow. And then he is killed. So that was just like, wait, what's going on here? That was a big thing. I called my boss that night. I said, hey, man, I don't know if you know this rapper, local LA guy, business mind. His name's Nipsey Hussle. He's like, yeah. I heard he got killed. I was like, no, I don't think you know how big this is going to be. He's like, yeah, I get it. I was like, no. I'm not saying he was Tupac, but it's going to be like that.
Yeah.
Something inside of me knew that because he wasn't on Tupac's level. And I said all this to say, I didn't know I would get into this covering deaths of LA legends, Nipsey, Kobe. I didn't know that I would literally be in fires in my own neighborhood, filming them, speaking to the fire chief, blazing. I thought I was Denzel or Bruce Willis trying to leave an action scene because of literally fires. And now I'm on the air during live fires, live earthquakes. And it has been a wild ride. And then to be 30 plus years of feeling a certain way, having gone through so many circumstances and tragic things and just frustration to the point that they become normalized. I'll give you an example. It's crazy to think every single one of my black friends, we grew up, hey, let's go have a Halo game night, Madden game night, right? All right, cool. We'll meet up at Ryan's or Derek's. And you get there and you're going at it and one of them's late. You're like, man, what took you so long, man? And I got pulled over. And we all just kind of look at him and go like, DWB, like, he's like, yeah, man, they harassed me. They did this. I got jammed up. I got through on the hood. It's all good, baby. Let's play. Like, that shouldn't be normal. You got through on the hood for no reason. All you were doing was grabbing a Little Caesars $5 pizza because we're college kids, and you want to bring it over. But growing up like that, it was literally normal. I don't have a single friend who doesn't have a horrible police story. So I'm going where I'm going with this is, Brian. This, of all the things I've had to cover now, deaths of tragic big stars, fires, earthquakes, coronavirus. This has been the hardest, and you see it from Maria Taylor on ESPN. You see it with Doc Rivers, who normally is, very well polished, because it's something you've lived, you normalize, you tuck down. Especially if you want to be a black person on TV or radio, you have to kind of play. I can't play aside. I gotta just okay. This was where finally you see so many people breaking down. This is the moment I can't take it. Fire me if you need to. People are speaking up because it's been something I tweeted. I think it's like my pinned tweet. Everyone's like, well, I didn't know they felt this way. I didn't know this person or Bron or Doc or whomever it may be. I'm like, these are conversations that are had on a daily. They're just not finally being exposed. And so this has been the more challenging thing to try to be a voice of reason and, again, understanding both sides. But it also something you've lived for almost 4 decades. You've lived through it. But I wouldn't want to be anywhere else because I want to be one of the leaders in these conversations.
What is the challenge? Because I apologize because I even DM'd you after it. You did an interview or a segment with, and I again, time is a flat circle. I can't remember anything, but and I reached out to you. It was really well done.
Really good.
I think that might have been what it was
I think that was.
Yeah. I know it's what it was.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Andy, for reminding me. What is the challenge of trying to, because again, you are, like you said, you're trying to do news for an entire community. That includes people who agree with you. That includes people who don't. That includes left-wing people. That includes right-wing people. What is the challenge of doing that and trying to be a news person for the entire community while also trying to make sure that you convey a point of view that is honest and explains your understanding of something and your experience in something, because I can't imagine that's easy.
Well, I think the best thing that equipped me for that was growing up where I did. I grew up in Ann Arbor, Michigan, college town, University of Michigan. You mentioned, Brian, earlier, like living here in LA. So it's similar to that in that I think I've told you both this before. A 3-on-3 tournament, you get 4 players because you get a sub. This sums up my youth growing up. Me, my best friend Victor, he is Latino. One of my best friends at the time, Zuhair Koja, he's a Muslim. And then Punky, just a white guy. So me, Punky, Zuhair, and Victor in the black. And the name of our team, it wasn't something cool like Street Ballers or Hoop It Up or And One. It was Race Relations. That was the name of our. So imagine they're like, up next, court 3 is Super Jams or, And One and Race Relations. And so I said that to say we were being funny because we were like, look at this United Nations kind of team. That's how I grew up. And so I had conversations early on that I think 70-year-olds are scared to have now that I was having at like 10, 11, 12. Punky, the guy, I don't mean to put him out there like this, but he, it is what it is. Met him in middle school, 6th grade.
I'm guessing he's not watching if it makes you feel better.
I don't know. Punky's supportive.
I mean, he might be, but also too, like, I don't think, like, unless you're throwing out more personal information, I think just Punky. I'm assuming that's not his Christian name.
No, Punky is legendary though. Okay. That's his. Yeah. So
shout out to Punky if he's watching.
Shout out to Punk. 6th grade, we become great friends, right? And basketball and love of music, and we're just hitting it off. He came from a well-to-do family, from a well-to-do neighborhood that went to well-to-do schools, and his well-to-do friends called him Wigger because he was hanging with me. And now I'm 11 years old having conversations I never thought at 11. You know what I mean? I'm having well, why is he at this? I'm looking at his friend because he's hanging with me. So then what are you saying about me? And so
there's an extension to that.
There you go. So I had all these conversations and having to be able to understand it, and I became very equipped for that. So to be honest, I live for these conversations. I mean, Andy, I would argue 2/3 of our conversations are more like this than anything.
This is basically Kelvin and my conversations in between every segment when we'd work together on 710. Like, we would rarely, if ever, talk about what's the next segment going to be about. This is basically what we talk about.
I want to grab let me grab my charger here real quick. I want to make sure that it's getting low. Give me 1 sec. Give me 1 sec.
No, it's true though. I mean, this is basically every single one of Kelvin.
It explains why each segment felt totally unprepared.
Well, I'll tell you, man,
the radio product suffered.
But
that is true of radio. Like, the best stuff always happens during the breaks. But it's funny. Like, it's not funny, but like I told the John Thompson story before, which is something that, I'm not beating myself up as a 12-year-old for not recognizing it. But I remember, people having there are black people and then there are, the N-word things, like trying to make those. And even as like a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 14-year-old going, no, like that's
there's stuff
right.
There's stuff that you sense is wrong. What you decide to do with that knowledge, can vary and can evolve over time. But like, you know that there's that there's a qualifier being put out there. Lets you know that the person saying this knows that what they're saying is wrong.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
they know
it's the classic, I don't mean to be sexist, but I don't mean to be racist, but I don't mean to be anti-Semitic, but I don't have a problem with the Jews, but like, if you ever start a sentence like that, this is just a PSA for anybody. You ever start a sentence like that and you get to a but, you need to stop talking, because even if you're thinking it, like, until it comes out of your mouth, like, technically speaking, you're not going to be held responsible for it. But when you get everything that follows the but isn't going to work.
If I just walk right in on that part, we're talking about following butts, or my wife came down. If my wife came down and following butts, she would be like, "What kind of podcast? What is going on over here?" But baby, I swear we want to talk about Nicki Minaj. So let me tell you guys this quick story about something you were just talking about, Brian. To me, where I think there needs to be an understanding of people's ignorance. Here's what I mean. freshman year of college, get your roommate. I'm up north in Traverse City, Michigan, and I was the only black man on campus. Literally, I don't mean that like joking. I went to Eastern Michigan later. Daniel, shout out to Daniel there.
Okay, sorry.
I went to Eastern later, and my roommate, you meet him. His name was Ben, white guy from. I mean, not to say it from the sticks. I mean the sticks of Michigan, like a city that I don't even know if it was incorporated. And he, one day we're talking, a few weeks go by, he's a great guy, and he says, "Man, you're the first colored I ever met." And I was like, "Oh, now."
Well, I mean, at that point, you really did realize, no, he's not lying.
No,
I mean, like,
no,
I mean,
dude,
to be fair,
That's authentic.
And here's what I mean when I say you have to be understanding and empathetic, which to a certain extent, don't get it twisted. Right. Every now and again, you got to bust a head. I don't mean that literally. I meant verbally. But no, I knew that he literally meant I'm the first person of color he ever met. And so I kindly told him, "Hey, man, you know, you don't want to necessarily say colored right now. You can just grow black, you know." And by the way, let me tell some people, let me look at the camera. Am I looking at the camera? When you say this to all my white friends, I always have them cracking up. I even say this at Spectrum. When you, especially anchors, because you're on air and you have to talk about these stories of people of color and things are happening, don't put so much act in black. Just say black. Just throw it black. You know, there's a black man that was killed. There was a black man. Whoa,
yeah.
Whoa. Just take out some of the act in black. Just if you're watching this right now, and you got to, you know, at some point you're going to say
it's a one-syllable word. It's what you're saying.
Just black. It's just black. There was a black man, unarmed black man, a black man in this community, not a black man in the like too much ACK, way too much act in the black. So anyway, I had to tell him, look, you can say black, you can say African American, you know this, and I educated him. To this day, he was the sweetest human being I've ever met. I mean, he was a remarkable person. He just had no idea. So we had these conversations, and that's what we're missing, dude. It's mind-boggling that 40, 50, 60-year-olds can't have conversations that our children had, like or the empathy and the desire to have relationships that our children have. I live in a neighborhood. My next door neighbors are Asian, across the street Armenian, white, and just everywhere, right? My daughter, I did a story on Spectrum. I shoot stories too every now and again when I'm not anchoring, and it was about the protests. And I was going out there, and I'm like, man, I need to find. When you shoot stories, sometimes you go to find a source or a story. You don't know what you're gonna do walking in. So I'm at a protest in Port Ranch of all places, and I'm like, shocked. Port Ranch? I was like, we woke. And I find a woman, and I'm like, hi, ma'am. She was with two daughters, and I was like, hi, ma'am. I'm Spectrum News 1, blah, blah. She's like, yeah. I'm like, if you don't mind, I'd love to get your story. Why are you here? Mexican-American woman, she says, my name is Angela. Hi, I'm Kelvin. She says, my name is Angela because my father named me after Angela Davis. Wow. I said, freaking pot. And she goes on to tell me my father, Mexican man, mother Mexican, and they said we fight for all rights, all humanity. They have gone to every type of protest. She brings her daughter. I'm talking women's rights, black rights, pick a right, they're there. And she, just because she understands that all humans need to have equal rights and blah, blah, blah. So I just like, wow, like this is really what it's supposed to be. And I came back home and I needed a couple things to add to the story so it could air. And I was like, man, my opening line was basically along the lines of like, if you've ever seen children play, you know, a couple of things don't matter. They don't care about decibel level. They don't care of who had it first. And they surely don't care about race. That was kind of my opening thing. And I was like, I need something to represent some shots. That day, took my daughters for a walk. We run into some neighbors. They have kids our age, an Asian kid and an Armenian daughter. My daughter grabs both of their hands. Never really met them, just, you know, and they're walking, and I just start shooting it. And that's the opening shot, because to me, it shows, like, how do we go from kids just being like, it's whatever, you're cool, I'm cool, let's hang out, to grown people, you're this, like, what? How do we get, what?
It's interesting. when you were talking about the conversations that our kids will likely be able to have, I think better than, our generation or the generations that came before us, after George Floyd's killing, and, you start seeing a lot of the unrest around the city, and you're seeing Black Lives Matter everywhere. And my daughter asked my wife and I, what does Black Lives Matter mean? And we explained it. And she actually responded, but Daddy, all lives matter. Like not arguing, but like as a kid at the most literal sense of it. But also because she's a kid, she's inquisitive. Like she's not arguing. She really wants clarification.
Right. So as opposed to the combative,
sort
of, dismissive way of
when we explain to her what it means to say Black Lives Matter, she understood and she agreed, and there was no more discussion needed, which I thought was really interesting because, at its root, all lives matter shouldn't be problematic. But the way that it gets thrown around as a response to Black Lives Matter, that's what makes it an issue and ultimately undercuts the idea of valuing all life.
Well, it's also because it's cherry picked. So if you say Black Lives Matter on Twitter, someone's going to say all lives matter. No, but if someone else says blue lives matter, they don't say anything.
Well, yeah,
and so it's cherry picked when they use it, as to Brian's point. Therefore, it is a deflection or a way to be, as he said, combative. So, with that being said, though, how about those Lakers? What y'all got me on here looking like Cornel West?
Well, actually, I was going to say we can end on because we're getting towards the end. A lighter note.
We can't. Listen, I will do this. Okay.
Well, no.
I'll do this every day.
I think, and we shut off the show when we want. You want to talk Lakers?
I'm just saying. Listen, I'm just saying.
I'm heading to the bar.
You're heading me down the direction. I think that's partly why. Your boy ain't asked me no more. All right.
No. I want to make sure we don't keep you too long.
That doesn't explain why we're not there.
Yeah. But, let's do that segment.
Well,
matter of fact, call Ben back. Ask Ben how he's still there. What the heck?
I uploaded this just for you, Kelvin, because when we were texting back and forth about what you wanted to get into tonight, I specifically mentioned this. This is me at age probably 25 that a friend of mine from college recently ran across and sent to me. Look at that, Kelvin. Just look at that. What in the
then full on blow like that? Is that Matchbox 20? Is it Nickelback? Like, what are we?
I prefer to think of it more Gavin Rosdale, little going on.
I didn't know.
I like the Nickelback thing. I think that's well done.
Hutchins.
Okay, no, I'm going Nickelback.
Listen, I'm not mad at it though, because like I wish I was at a Starbucks and you were in there playing.
No, you don't. Andy was a good drummer growing up. He could do that. He was a terrible bass player.
I was an awful,
terrible. Brian, hint Starbucks. I didn't say he was rocking out Staples Center. I said Starbucks.
But I wanted to make sure that, especially after I was such a jerk in downloading your headshots, I wanted to make sure that we turn this around full circle.
Yeah, I do think this is worth another look here, because, like you say, my top right, the checkered shirt thing, that's a smoldering look. That's what led to the high, the unusually high bed.
Yes.
That kind of look, like right there.
So top left is life's finally okay. I'm finally doing all right. Life's good. I'm on some TV, making a little money. The top right is I've finally got a name in Flint. I think I'm making like $20,000 a year. Your boy is doing it. I'm on the radio, killing the game. Bottom left is, boy, ain't nobody hiring me for nothing. Maybe I'll try acting. I live in LA now.
Maybe they need a Blair Underwood type. That looks very Blair Underwood type.
If y'all need a Blair Underwood brother, Blair Underwood son, Blair Underwood flashback.
Blair Underwood's son. That is exactly what that is.
Did the photographer in that picture just like actually say, can you Blair Underwood it up a little bit more? Like, we need a little more Blair Underwood.
She's known me for years, and she was like, come on, Kelvin, come on, Dub, give me the Blair. And I was like, this is all I got, because if this don't work, I'm gonna have to come back here to Michigan, because LA is kicking my butt right now. I can't get a job at In-N-Out. Okay, In-N-Out wouldn't hire me. And then the last pick was like my last moment of trying to be like, I call it sexy daddy Dub, because I'm a dad now. And so she just says like, Kelvin, look up. She needs to focus her camera, really, because we're taking shots of my wife looking beautiful and pregnant. So I kind of literally just like look up like, huh? And that's a shot. And for some reason, my wife loves it and everybody loves it. So there it is. But, or really it's me about 2.5 minutes before the nap.
Yeah.
That looks very,
that works.
It's very sexy, but approachable.
That's you know what
it feels like.
Dude, in the words of Shaquille O'Neal, underdog, put that on a t-shirt. I need that on a t-shirt. Sexy but approachable.
That's not
all
bad.
Right. Where do you guys? We didn't. So we'll have to do. I don't know if we have enough time to really fully on our list of things dive deep into Versus, which is on your list.
We don't. Yeah, we can save that for another. I mean,
okay,
good. I'll say this on the Versus. I'll say this. Innovative, creative people find ways to, throughout the history of mankind, right? There's been plagues and diseases and this and that, and we always have to adjust. And Swiss Beats and Timberland found something very fun, very creative, very familiar. Like everybody, it's come around. Let's all get together. And I've been following them doing this since the beginning. It started off those two. My beats are better than yours. Hey, here's this Aaliyah, Jay-Z beat. All right, here's this DMX beat I did, going at it, having fun in celebration of their catalogs. Then they created it where it ended up being Little John versus T-Pain, Nelly Ludacris, Babyface versus Teddy Riley, Erykah Badu versus Jill Scott. I mean, it kept getting bigger and bigger till Snoop and DMX, which is maybe my favorite. I mean, it's been incredible. So that's been one of the best things during quarantine. For me is these guys giving us these epic celebrations, because they're supposed to be battles. Where's my camera? But they're really not. They're just celebrations of music, of a time frame. You know what I mean? Like that era of music, whatever year they're kind of.
I watched the like a Brandy one. That kind of brought me back a little bit.
There you go.
Well, I was going to say the I guess the most humbling part of Versus for me is when you look at the two guys or two women that are going against each other, and you're like, I have absolutely no idea who that is. And about half of them, I'm like, I literally don't know who that is.
But I think you know a good half, though. You know a good half.
I know a good half, but it's all at a cutoff point. By and large, it's like a cutoff point of 2000 or maybe 2002 and earlier. And some of them, it's like I know pretty well, like Jill Scott, Erykah Badu.
I can follow that one. Yeah, I can do that
pretty well. Like John Legend, Alicia Keys, reasonably well. You get into like RZA and Premier, know that very well. Yeah. But then I look at like Scott Storch versus Manny Fresh. I have no clue who either one of those
to make you feel better, I can give you a song or two from each of them that you do know.
Oh, no, I probably do know. I probably do know some of the music, but it is humbling when you're like, I literally have no idea.
That's me on TikTok. That's me on TikTok. All these little dance moves or these little, or every rapper that is little or young. I'm like, I can't. Is that the rule when you become a rapper? You got to be young or little? Because you're 6'6", you ain't little.
I know.
And you young, but you're 60. So what's going on here? I mean, and so there you have these it has become humbling for me, because I always try to stay abreast and in the know. And now I find myself where I'm like, okay, I don't know them. I listen to radio and I'm like,
look, certainly anything that happened after my first was born, like basically nothing, other than maybe movies and some TV, music. I got nothing. They're like I have heard like 4 artists since in the last 10 years. People that I know time to listen to things I don't already know I like.
Right, music for me though, it matters. It's like an escapism for me. Like that's my driving. Yeah, somebody just mentioned Gladys Knight and Patti LaBelle is the next versus. So that Jay Watson's, that's going to be
But again, I know them.
Well, even mom knows Gladys Knight and Patti LaBelle.
I'm just waiting on the Patty Pies person. Do you remember that guy who did the Patty Pie review? If you don't, before you go to bed and close your eyes, look up Patty's Pies review on YouTube.
Okay.
I've seen the news about like that
because he made it famous. He literally, after this review, her sales went like 200% up or something crazy, to the point that she went on a talk, maybe Oprah or Ellen something, and she brought, like, he didn't know that she was going to come out. They brought him on, and it was a big deal. And now he's like in LA because he can really sing, and he's a background singer for like, you name it, like Alicia Keys, this person. He's backup singer. He's a great vocal, but he's freaking hilarious. And you gotta just see, he eats a patty pie, and he's like, let me take a bite of it. He's just freaking hilarious. If she brings him out during the battle, it's a wrap.
Over.
It's done.
Well, that was a really stealth. No, actually, we do have time to talk about verses. That was good.
That's a good point. I didn't mean to do that because I'd rather talk about LeBron about to get his 4th. I thought we were gonna hit that.
Okay, we'll hit it for a couple minutes. We'll hit it for a few minutes. You feeling him getting all the way to the finals?
You left me no choice but to say that's what she said. Like, I mean,
you're looking around. You're like, is she here? Is she here?
I'm saying, all right, a couple of minutes. That's what I'm saying.
Who did that? Who did that bit? It was which show was it? Where so I said, bitch. It was Key and Peele. It was Key and Peele. Yeah, it was Key and Peele. That was like one of the funniest. I think it was like all the guys, like if you haven't seen episode. All the dudes, like talking, like big tough macho talking. Every time they say something, like their wives or bitch this or that, they whisper because they can't let their wives actually hear them.
You said it. You did it. You said it. Yeah. I mean, I didn't say it to her face, but
it's
so funny and so accurate.
It's 100%.
So,
Ben and I and everybody, we geeked out on this last night. We can do it again. Like, let's geek out on.
And this is turning defense into offense. Great block there, and another one by LeBron.
I mean, come on.
That's insane.
Yeah, LeBron reminded us that yes, I'm arguably the best ever, top 2, 3, whatever you want to rank him as basketball player. Yes, I was the best wide receiver in the state of Ohio. Yes, I could have been a tight end, defensive end. Yes, if someone would have trained me, I could have been an Olympic swimmer. And by the way, I would have been an amazing Olympic volleyball player. I mean, you see him spiking shots like it's
whatever you want to do.
Yeah, engaged LeBron is incredible, which is why, again, many would say, it's so the debate of the greatest, because there's like the greatest, then there's like the best. And by best, if you just look at the tool belt, like they can do it all, and that might be LeBron. But the greatest, it's MJ. But it's like there are things that LeBron does. You're just like, I just never seen anyone else be able to do that.
It's cool to be able to see it. Like, and I think I don't care as much about my team winning as much as but like the one thing that you do pick up. Because working in sports changes the way you view it and it changes your fandom, 100%. All that. But you develop a really keen appreciation for how hard it is to be good at this to the level that you can play professionally, and to be as good as LeBron is and doing the things that he's doing, even beyond the 35 thing, which just makes it. Just to be able to see it and appreciate it, and particularly in this era where you can get the video and somebody can do the thing about his footwork and kind of something like we have so much more exposure into what these guys are doing, and people, I think are appreciating it. So
this is what I would say right now in terms. I mean, because the GOAT debate, it's so at this point played out, but also in a lot of ways, it's a rigged parlor game because it is in 99% of cases. It is brought up to explain why player X is
Kelvin,
not as good as MJ.
Getting the time
for sure.
I mean? Like really, I mean, it is brought up to eventually cut the other guy down. And if everybody has basically decided it's always going to be MJ and it's never going to be anybody but MJ, great, whatever, I don't care. But let's stop just recycling this for the sake of cutting down greatness. But I will say this. I have no issue with anybody saying that MJ is the greatest basketball player of all time, because it is a perfectly acceptable and may damn well be the correct argument. I don't think anybody, though, is more unprecedented as a basketball player than LeBron.
Period. I like the way you phrase that.
Like,
that's
he
a good
is
way to phrase it.
Unprecedented what he is doing. The way he is doing this and the ground he's breaking as a player is something that MJ never did. Even if MJ's better than him, he's more unprecedented. I don't think that can be argued.
Without a doubt. I've said it before. I mean, if nothing else, I felt like every sports fan should appreciate what he has meant, and as far as what we built him to be at 16, 17, he's going to be this, he's going to be that, he's going to be the greatest thing. And the fact that he has surpassed that, you have to applaud that. You have to respect that. That's nothing else. No iPhone, no movie, no book, no thing that has been hyped up, no restaurant has lived up to or surpassed the hype like he has. Dude, he was supposed to be the greatest. And he almost is right there. That's impossible. Nobody walks in with that much hype. It actually lives up and surpasses that in anything. I don't care if it's a chef. Again, I don't care if it's a teacher or anything. I mean, no one or nothing has done that. And I think that's what's remarkable to me.
Yeah, it's and the worst thing you can say about the guy still is the decision. Like,
and that's more about yourself, actually. If you're still,
I agree with you. No, I completely agree. That's still the biggest knock on him. 17 years in, or whatever it is the
I
decision.
think actually it's bigger than that now, Brian. I think the biggest one is him having to leave to get a ring. I think that surpassed the decision. He created the super team theory.
I guess, but I
think that's the biggest knock. Because what happened was the trickle down effect. Now then you get KD, right? And now we're talking about, will Giannis do that to go? So I think people will point to that as the reason why hoop is whack or why guys go ring chasing is because of that. And they'll say, look what he started, ignoring what happened in Boston their first year. Well, it literally worked, and they won immediately, and it almost won a second one.
The difference is, though, for a lot of people, they see what LeBron, Wade, and Bosh did as them manufacturing it themselves, and therefore shifting that whole power dynamic and the way that they did it, where they were in their careers, as opposed to, seeing like Kevin Garnett get traded and Ray Allen get traded, as if Kevin Garnett wasn't calling his own shots.
Throughout that whole thing. There you go.
He absolutely was. I mean, maybe Ray Allen wasn't, but Kevin Garnett sure as hell was. I mean, there was a period where Boston didn't even think that they could get him because he didn't want to go. And I mean, in the end, it all worked out. But had Kevin Garnett said, had Kobe that off season not publicly demanded a trade from the Lakers, that hurt his interest in joining the team. Because remember, he got linked to the Lakers for like 2 years.
Yeah, house in Malibu.
Yeah.
Kevin Garnett's house in Malibu was the original, like, that guy's
house in Malibu.
Like, before people realized that literally everybody in the NBA's got a house in LA.
And he runs the beaches at 4 a.m. Yeah, I remember all those stories.
Him and 50 other NBA players. Right. Like all of them.
Who doesn't either have a house here or rent one during the summer? Like, why would you not? Why would I want to be in Milwaukee? Sorry, Milwaukee.
I'm a single 23-year-old, 24-year-old guy
San Antonio
with money.
Exactly. It's LA. I'm doing my commercials. I'm going to work on this movie, this book, these gigs. I can shoot up to Silicon Valley easily. I mean, who wouldn't be here if you got that kind of money or some young single guy? I mean, during the summer. So that no longer can be the litmus test for if someone is going to come to LA or not.
That disposable income.
By the way, I do want to say this. This shows the love that I have for the YouTube. That I didn't tell you this in the beginning. I have to do the morning show.
No.
I am doing the morning show that starts at 5 a.m. Thursday and Friday. Tomorrow and Friday, I'll be doing the morning show.
Oh, dude, go to bed. Oh my God, I feel horrible now. I feel terrible.
No.
To be fair, we didn't know. But
you know the rule that once you go over the hour, you got to run it back and finish the next hour.
You know what? Here's the thing. Why that's
it's
not
like the new baseball rules with pitchers. They have to face 3 batters.
Told you.
Good one. But the thing is, as you both know, especially with the world we're in now, like my wife just walked me. She put the youngest down. My kids are going to bed so late that anytime I do the morning show anyway, it's not like I'm going to go to bed at 8:30 at night. It doesn't happen. I have to, my wife's in school, and so I have to kind of put them down usually. And so the idea of me going to bed early is laughable. So what I do is I don't even think about it. I go to bed here probably in the next few whatever minutes, and then I have it all set up where I get up, boom, shoot, straight to work, do a show. I know I'm going to get it back on the other end. That's when I'm going to get my sleep back. I'm going to give me a nice hour and a half nap tomorrow. I'll be all right. But if they ever say that Kelvin Washington never loved the Cam brother, let it be known.
We'll run it back. We'll run back the tape.
We'll clip this and we'll be ready to go.
Well, dude, thank you. Thank you very much, man. So tell people, just refresh exactly where they can see you tomorrow at 5 a.m.
Yeah,
not me because I won't be watching, but other people.
I'll be on until noon, so you better tune.
Okay, no, I can do that.
5 to noon, it'll re-air. Spectrum News 1. If you have Spectrum,
soft to do the 8th hour, Kelvin.
I was gonna say that is a really hefty shift. 5 to noon.
You know what's crazy? Most like last week when I did, or week prior, I did the mornings and my actual shift, which is afternoons. So from 5 to 5, I was on. Not technically on, but some of it looped. But a lot, half of that was me working it. And so the joke is, if you don't like me, you don't like Special News 1. There's a whole lot of me on that. I can't lie.
It's like ESPN with Stephen A. Like if you don't like Stephen A, like if you really don't like Stephen A, you're gonna have a hard time.
When I saw him do the World Poker Tournament Championship, I'm making this up, but I'm like, let me tell you, man, he doubled down on that Black Queen. You mean Blackjack? I'm like, this is like they got that man doing a World Tournament of Poker now, and they got Stephen A at the horse race, Stephen A. Smith ain't turning. It's getting carried away, Stephen A. Stephen A. I know if you ever see this, I love you, but my man, it's okay to say no.
Crap Rangoon and things of that nature.
God, they're like, Stephen A. What's his name? Is it Todd Smith, the guy that does racetrack? What's his name?
No idea.
The guy who does NASCAR for them. Anyway,
Marty Smith.
Marty Smith. They're like, Marty's off today. He is in North Carolina with a cowboy hat. And let me tell you, they went around, they turned left the whole time. You're like,
let's do that hockey. All right, Kelvin Washington, you see him on TV for 19 hours tomorrow and on Friday, starting at 5 a.m. And they only let him off to pee once and have a sandwich.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna go to sleep. K-Dub Live on Instagram and Twitter, man. Appreciate you guys having me on. You already know, man. I'm a fan of you guys, and keep it up, man. And this is the year to be innovative and creative, man, and start some stuff. And I've talked about it. I know, Andy, I told you I want, this ownership, man, starting to own our own stuff, right? Own our own brands, our own podcasts, our own live streams, and take it to the next level, man. So that's the goal.
Thank you, man. Thank you. We appreciate the time, and we love seeing you, man. We love talking with you, and we'll do it again.
I'll see you too soon.
Okay.
And I'm gonna go put some eye shutters on like an old grandmother and go to sleep.
All right, man. We'll see you.
I'll see you too. Peace, fellas. Peace, everybody.
All right. So we'll wrap up for tonight. First of all, thanks, Ray. The show, as Ray says, the show kind of grows on.
Yeah, Ray was complaining.
Ray last time was complaining he couldn't find his way out of the stream, and now he's back leaving comments. So thank you, Ray. We appreciate it. All right,
shout out to Ray. Hey, Ray, we appreciate that, man. Listen, the Cam brothers are like fungus, man. They just grow on you, keep growing on you, man. And you're like, it ain't
it's very difficult to get rid of.
Kind of like me right now. Didn't I click leave already?
You can go whenever you want at this point. Reminder, tomorrow night, all of the conversation about basketball that Kelvin wanted to have that we didn't, we'll have tomorrow with LeJethro Jenkins from the Dunk Bait podcast at Yahoo. We had him on once before.
He's awesome.
Super fun guy, and a huge Lakers fan. So
yes, he is.
Tons of NBA talk tomorrow night at 10 o'clock with LeJethro Jenkins. So we'll see everybody back there. Friday, we'll get you ready for the NFL season with Jordan Rodrigue from The Athletic. I promise, beyond the fact that she's a lot of fun and a really fun interview and all that, you will learn a ton about football from her. She is fantastic at what she does.
Particularly the Rams, man. She does a great job covering them.
Right. Jordan Rodrigue Friday, LeJethro Jenkins tomorrow, Dave Schilling on Monday. So we got some people lined up. Have a lot of fun over the next few days. Everybody have a great Ray just said, I never left the room. I've been stuck here since last night.
Perfect. So we'll see you tomorrow then.
We'll see you tomorrow then, Ray. Thanks again to everybody. Remember, you can check out the replay and the podcast. The podcast, which should be going live on iTunes in the next day or two. So thanks a lot, everybody. See you tomorrow night.